Okay, I think we are live on YouTube. We're going to be talking about this Charlotte Hornets schedule, but I need a second, so we've opened up the lounge. Welcome to the lounge.
Yeah, you're just hanging out with us as we get ready to go live for the first time in a while. Did we go live with David?
Listen, people have been getting a few little whining willies on these YouTube comments about the lack of news. We can't help that. I'm sorry. I can't help that the Hornets have not done anything this offseason that we can talk about. So we go into Hornets history. I find it interesting. If you don't find it interesting, October 19th, we're going to be talking about real games again.
Well, my favorite part of that, all the whining willies, as you called them, is the fact that they're asking for us.
You have a better name?
To create. No, I don't. I just wanted to make sure that I got that right, what you referred to them as. But those whining willies that you did refer to them as are asking for us to make the news up. That's happened on more than one occasion. They've asked for us to just start some conspiracy theories.
They want fake news. They are they are in the news desert. And what they are telling us is rather than actual water, they will settle for one of those oasis visions of water where, like in the cartoon where they find the oasis and then it cuts to them eating sand instead of water. That's what they are asking for. They are asking for us to shovel sand into their mouths. And I'm just saying, I'm not prepared to do that.
No, I don't want to do that either. We're just going to talk about some old stuff in the meantime. Yes, some 1990s games between the Hornets and the Pacers and star Vern Fleming.
I love a little Vern Fleming talk on a Wednesday. Come on.
And yeah, of course. And what was your boy, Marty Conlon?
Oh, man. Listen, that interview was great. If you haven't checked that out, it was the last upload that we did. We talked to Marty Conlon.
Where can I go check it out? I forgot.
Well, you can only check it out on the YouTube page as of this moment. I haven't put it up on everyhornetsboxscore.com, but it will be up there really soon. Anyway, I'm ready to go. Let's talk about this schedule, the Hornets schedule. Okay. It's out, baby.
We do have news. We don't have to make this up. Everything, I think at least 90% of what we'll say on this show, this will be factual. So we don't have to make it up. That's the tease.
Lounge.
That should be the tease, the evergreen tease. At least 90% of this show will be factual.
Okay. Ready for the cold open when you are.
Okay. Give me a countdown. Okay, I'm ready to go.
In 3, 2, 1.
The NBA releases their schedule, and so do the Charlotte Hornets. What are the highlights? We'll get to that. Plus, Donovan Mitchell, he won't go away. Could he be coming to the QC? That's all today on Locked On Hornets.
Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube, where we will be discussing the schedule release. Some of you have been begging us, pining, if you will, that we actually just make up some news, give you some conspiracy theories, maybe even just lie to you. But we don't have to do that today, Doug. We have some news. And we're going to be speaking about the facts. The Charlotte Hornets are set to play an 82-game regular season schedule, and those games have been released to the public, and some weird quirks along the way as we talk about this.
Yeah, opening night, October 19th. Mark your calendars. The Hornets get started on the road against the San Antonio Spurs. I'm just going to say it right now. I want to go through the whole schedule before preseason and just give you win-loss. I want to we'll figure out.
I'm not keep up with it.
We'll try to keep up with it and come out of the into the preseason with a win-loss record for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to go ahead and get it started right now, and I'm going to say at San Antonio, easy dub.
We're going to be, I don't know, we're going to end up 53-win team. If we keep
5-0, baby.
It's easy to talk yourselves into these wins as you just look at it at a game at a time, which is what every coach preaches to their team, no matter the sport. Just take it a game at a time. We're going to show you what you would be if you did that in reality. So if we do that, get 53 wins, 55. Who needs Mike D'Antoni to reach that number? Maybe Steve Clifford can do that in this alternate universe. I will read a couple of the highlights, and Doug, you can dive in a little bit deeper.
Sure.
The schedule features 22 home games on weekend dates if you're trying to go catch some games at the Spectrum Center, including 9 Fridays, 8 Saturdays, and 5 Sundays. Little Sunday fun day. 5 times during the year. The season's longest homestand is 5 straight games. That'll take place from March 11th to the 20th, so a little bit later in the season. And the longest road trip is 6 games from December 18th to the 27th. That will actually be their West Coast road trip, and it's a doozy, aren't they all? The Hornets have 12 sets of back-to-back games. 12. I know you have some more information on the back-to-back games and some of the weird things that I noticed while looking at the schedule along with yourself.
Yeah, 12 back-to-back games. That compares to last season when they had 15. Now, the NBA has stated that they are doing their best. They've been doing this over the past couple of seasons to limit the number of back-to-back games for all teams. I did note someone on Twitter said that 12 is the lowest number of back-to-backs for any team. I think 10 total teams have 12 back-to-backs, so the Hornets sit on the low.
It's a 9-way tie.
9-way tie sits, but you know the important thing there is that the Hornets sit on the low end, so that's a favorable thing in their schedule. Not favorable though is that they have 5 of those games that are the worst kind of back-to-backs. That's your road back-to-backs where you're just traveling from road game to road game. They had less of those last year, but the weird quirk in the back-to-back situation is this consecutive games versus the same opponent. So this happened twice last season against there was one against Philadelphia, and I'm blanking on the second team this happened to. But that increases same opponent consecutive games to 6 this season, and only one of those is a traditional home and home versus Dallas on March 24th, and then they travel to Dallas March 24th, and then back home March 26th against Dallas. The other 5 are these weird. You play the same team at your house, or you play the same team at their house. And Walker, I think the NBA is trying to do this to limit travel, to limit back-to-backs, to get more players to play essentially in the regular season.
Yeah, it makes sense for all of their 2-game series except for one, and that comes against Dallas later on. But just to give you an idea of what Doug is talking about, you have Miami twice on the road, November 10th and November 12th. Then you scroll down the schedule just a little bit further. Then you have it 2 in a row. You play the Raptors twice on the road, January 10th, January 12th. You play Boston 2 times in a row at home, January 14th and January 16th at 1 p.m., on NBA TV, because that's an MLK Day game, which are always awesome. You get a little matinee game. That's always fun. So that'll take place at the Spectrum Center if you want to go, January 16th. Those games come in between an 8-road game out of 10-game trip that they have. So anyways, Toronto, Boston. You scroll down a little further, it's not done. In fact, they actually come a little bit more frequently. Cleveland at home a couple times in a row, March 12th and March 14th. Dallas on the road, March 24th. At home, March 26th. Then you have Toronto again, April 2nd, April 4th. So the Raptor stuff is happening 2 times in a row. Now, I also imagine that's due to COVID because Canada, different rules. They're saying, get out of here, you nasty Americans. We don't want you here for longer than you have to be. And I understand that. So Raptors makes a little bit more sense, but you're also seeing this with 3 other franchises.
Well, it'll be a good opportunity to get a little bit of playoff practice. If the Hornets are in contention for the playoffs, I mean, those where you're hosting someone or going to someone for 2 straight games will give you sort of a practice playoff scenario. So could and what I think 3 of those situations coming towards the end of the season for the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, let's get to the thing that everybody wants to know, Walker, which is how many national TV games are the Hornets playing this season? I have them playing 7 total national TV games because I don't like to count the NBA TV games. They have 4 of those. They have 3 what I think are true national TV games. That's when you're playing on ESPN or you're playing on TNT. Look, NBA TV, it's the home team local announcers. I think a true national TV game is when you're dealing with Jeff Van Gundy or you're dealing with Mike Breen. You got the pros, doing your game. That's when you have a national TV game. They have 3 of those. 2 against Chicago, 1 against Boston. I think 2 of those are on ESPN, 1 of those are on TNT. And I lost your audio, Walker. Not sure what happened there. Maybe you're muted. Looks like you're muted.
I did mute myself. I did mute myself. I don't know why. But really the draw there, it's the Ball Brother Bash a couple of times. Chicago, once early in the season, once at the end. So that's a little Lonzo LaMelo ESPN airing for both of those games. And then you have the Boston Celtics, which I feel like we've played national television games against Boston.
If Lonzo's healthy,
times.
What's his deal, right? I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, look, I just Googled Lonzo Ball and it says, is Lonzo Ball still injured? Well, I'll try to find out.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. But yeah, so a couple of ESPN games, one against Boston on the road. That's February 10th. You do have a TNT game against Chicago at home, January 26th. And then the first one, though, you're going to get November 2nd in Chicago on ESPN. So those are your really national televised games. And it's the Ball bringing it in, right? Like that LaMelo, Lonzo, people want to watch those guys. They want to have the storyline of the brothers going up against one another. And that's carrying a lot of the weight as to why you would have Chicago and Charlotte twice in a season on national TV.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? LaMelo Ball hasn't yet gotten to that point where he is the draw. You know, it's the Ball versus Ball right now that's still the weight that is pulling the true national TV game to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, one All-Star, if he follows that up with another All-Star appearance, if he gets into all NBA territory, if he puts the Charlotte Hornets on his back and drags them to a top 6 seed in the East, then all of a sudden, I think next season, we're returning here and saying, no, it looks like ESPN and TNT, they just want to see LaMelo Ball put on a show, not the Ball versus Ball thing.
Yeah, if we weren't doing this, we're doing this live, basically an hour after the release, really even less than that. Maybe
right off the dome,
minutes.
baby, right off the dome.
Yeah. So I would like to have our research team, because we're so well funded. We have, probably hundreds and hundreds of people working for our research team. So once those guys actually get to work, I'd like to know maybe the draw of a John Morant in his second, third year, trying to bring the Grizzlies up to some of those national TV games, because I would argue, I don't think you were saying otherwise, but LaMelo a bigger draw than Lonzo. But if it was solely people wanting to watch LaMelo enough, especially with the team not being good. I mean, the team needs to be better, and this kind of fixes itself. Hey, Charlotte actually is pretty good. They're going to be a top 6 team, and they have LaMelo. That gives you a couple more nationally televised games. But it's just LaMelo right now, especially no Miles Bridges, who was fun on the court. Off of the court, he's dealing with the felony domestic violence charge, so that's not going to be a big draw. Gordon Hayward ain't doing it anymore, right? So LaMelo carrying all the weight for Charlotte until you play your brother in Chicago, and that's what's bringing it to ESPN and TNT.
And one final note before we kick it, on the national TV front. So last season, I've got their last season schedule pulled up. They had 4 true national TV games, 4 fake national TV games. All of those last season on ESPN. Only one of those on Chicago. So in fairness, it looks like but I think that's a penalty to Charlotte, probably not projected to do as well as they were last season.
Yeah, 100%. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We'll try to get to some more scheduled nuggets as we go along, plus Bally Sports. Yeah, hot, spicy nuggets for your face. Plus Bally Sports coming up with an app. Is it going to be worth it? There is an alternative way to watch the Hornets, but yeah, they're going to be nickel and diming you along the way. It can happen so easily. You're out with your friends or coworkers. You're putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. It's time to go, and for a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but now you're good. You're a good driver. You live nearby. It's not that big of a deal. You can make it home okay. What are the odds you'll get pulled over, though? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? You lose your license. You lose your job. You total your car. You kill someone. Yeah, it only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Play it safe. Go ahead and plan ahead to get a ride, drive sober, or get pulled over. We'll talk a little bit more about the schedule and Bally Sports releasing a new app next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Is Locked On Hornets.
They're running their rookies to Greensboro. They're driving them to Greensboro and then driving them back the same day to play in an NBA game. I cannot wait until the Hornets load manage.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
before we move on, I want to get to Locked On playing it real serious on me. So how about that read where I have to say you could kill someone, not to undermine the severity of not driving drunk, but that was the line that I said in a read. I also was asked to do a national read based off of life insurance, and one of the intro options that I took, because it was the one I felt the most comfortable going, was, hey, I got good news and bad news. The good news is you're alive. So we're just getting right to it's cutting right to it. And it is undeniably good news that you are alive. And so the business, they have it right there. All right, you want to give some shout outs? Hey, the people that are alive. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're alive. You get to see another season of Hornets basketball starting October 19th versus the San Antonio Spurs. Shout out to VT Red. Says, love these lives, guys. Glad I was able to catch it early. Mr. Purple Tornado says, whoa, I've never caught y'all live. Howdy, Mr. Purple Tornado. Thanks for joining. Topo! Oh, that's right.
Howdy, Topo. I like
Thank
all
you.
these colloquialisms. Howdy, Topo. It doesn't matter. Give it to us all, no matter where you're watching from.
Topo. Let's give another Topo to... Oh, Walt saying, who would we possibly trade for Donovan Mitchell? We're going to get to that in just a bit, Walt. Don't you worry. We're going to talk about Donovan Mitchell. Okay. I think that's going to be it. But keep chatting. Give us your schedule questions. Give us your Donovan Mitchell questions. Give us your Bally Sports plus minus questions.
Can I give you my Bally Sports plus minus questions, and can you answer them along with answering the people? What are we looking at here, Doug?
Well, so essentially Bally Sports, which covers, all of the Hornets games, they've released this over-the-top service so you can, if you are a local market fan of the Charlotte Hornets, so you live within a market which you would on your cable provider get Bally Sports, you can buy this Bally Sports Plus plan for $19.99 a month, $189.99 a year, and you get all of the Hornets games. So this helps people, I guess, who are either using YouTube TV, Hulu, some other service that doesn't have Bally Sports or doesn't have a service at all, and they can't buy League Pass in the local market, because if you buy League Pass in the local market, it all gets blacked out. So now at least you have an option. What do you think about it? It doesn't help me at all because I'm out of market.
Right. No, it helps me. Yeah, it's a lot of money per month to pay for individual basketball games that I'm going to watch. But also, it's what I got to do. When you host a daily podcast about the Hornets and you don't want to watch cable, this is going to be the other option, because I'm a little bit hesitant here, Doug. In fact, you can be the businessman and producer to go ahead and wave me off here, but I'll just go ahead and take it upon myself. I'll sidestep bashing, or maybe not talking about another way to watch the Charlotte Hornets that I did last year, because it wasn't very good. In fact, it was quite frustrating to watch the Charlotte Hornets. I did, obviously, but on that platform, it wasn't very good. But maybe you can try to figure out what it was, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore. All I'll say is that I will be getting this Bally Sports app, because I'm not going to go back to cable, and I'm going to get this. Yeah. And I'm, for me, I know for a fact that I will be watching pretty much every single Charlotte Hornets game. So I'm going to take that year option because it's cheaper, and I'm just going to ride with it, unless, I'll figure that out. But yeah, I'm rolling with it, Doug. This is going to be me.
So Bronze Ben Simmons says, so Bally Sports is $20 per month for all local blackouts this year coming up. For all, yeah, I mean, you get, I would assume the only games you don't get are the national TV games. So those will be blacked out, but you wouldn't get those anyway. So, But I don't blame Bally for the pricing. What they're doing is essentially saying, okay, you want League Pass one team. That's generally like $189 a year. That's like around the price of League Pass one team. You want that, but you only want Hornets. You can't get it from League Pass, so you get it from us instead. Because if you compare it to like Hulu or YouTube TV or Disney Plus or any of these other, the price is going to be way higher than that. But relative to the market, the only other player in the game is NBA. And the NBA is, to me, I blame the NBA because they've screwed this up so royally over the past. It's just the whole idea of regional sports networks, I think, should go away. And I think ultimately it will. Like, this is, to me, this Bally Sports Plus is the last dying breath of a regional sports network. I don't know what the next evolution of it looks like, but I don't think what I'll say is this: whether you subscribe to it this year or not, I don't think you're going to be subscribing to it 5 years from now, because it's either going to be bundled with something else, or the NBA is just going to say, forget it. We're giving you all the games, and we'll do it how we want to do it.
Well, the MLB is who this really affects too, because the MLB, with a dying sport like baseball is, or at least not dying, but the lack of popularity that is surrounding it, a lot of baseball fans would be angry with Major League Baseball because they were making it so damn hard to consume their sport that it's not doing so well. And so it didn't make a whole lot of sense, especially for them. Where the NBA, it's not the NFL in popularity, but it is more popular than Major League Baseball. So either way, yes, I will be a part of this. I will be subscribing, and I will be getting the Bally Sports app.
Mellow 1 of 1 says, if I live in Virginia, will Hornets games be blacked out? I don't think there's any. I'm just going to say I don't know, because look, I'll tell you one thing. Right now I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm blacked out for both Atlanta, which is 3.5 hours away, and Memphis, which is also like 3+ hours away. So I'm going to say I'm not sure. I would think that no part of Virginia, maybe if you're like right on the line between Virginia and North Carolina, that they would count that as being part of the local market. I'm sure that if you go to sign up and you put in your zip code into the Bally Sports Plus thing, it's going to tell you, hey, you're not in market. I would not give us $20 because you will not be able to watch anything on here.
Yeah, real quickly, do you want to take a look a little bit more at the schedule before we move on? Just a few things that you have in your notes here. One, no Christmas Day game, of course. No overseas trips. We've had the Paris game before. That's not taking place. And, Doug, you have written here, you have to do division work early. How do you think the beginning of the schedule stacks up for them?
Yeah, so they play the Southeast teams. They have 2 in October, 5 in November, 2 in December, 2 January, 4 in February, but then March and April, down the stretch, they only have 1 game against the division. Why is this important? Tiebreakers. I mean, you got to win those. The division really doesn't matter for anything except for playoff scenario tiebreakers. This schedule, honestly, is pretty similar to last season, and if we looked at the past 5 seasons or so, it's probably very similar, maybe the past 10 seasons, because this franchise always sort of sets it up this way, where you're playing a lot on the road in December and January, and you are playing more at home in March and April. And over the years, that has sometimes that has to do with the scheduling quirks of like trying to get college basketball more in Charlotte. But they've always done this. And for the past 2 seasons, March and April have been the Hornets' opportunity to make stretch runs. They did it last season. They were actually really good. 13-6, I think they closed out March and April. So they'll have that same opportunity again to play a lot at home. But in contrast to last season, they've got to do division work early. If they lose those division games, they get themselves into a playoff tiebreaker hole.
Yeah, and plus, when is the last time the Hornets won the Southeast Division? Hasn't it been a ridiculously long time?
Wow.
Nobody cares about division titles except maybe for us, because we have not here in Charlotte had that title ever? So long, but it has had to have been won once, right?
Well, certainly when they won. Well, I don't know, because winning 50 games. It's been a while since they've done that, and I'll look it up.
Hawks, Heat, Magic, Wiz, Hornets. Because
the problem is when they were winning 50 games, they were doing it when a couple of franchises were having even better runs. So I'll try to look this up.
All right, you look that up. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We may find an embarrassing answer to the question we just asked. Plus, we had a bolt of electricity go through the rumors that is Donovan Mitchell possibly going to the Charlotte Hornets. We'll get to that in just a moment as well. But now, before we talk about BetOnline, BetOnline.net is your #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball regular season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information. That includes live betting, esports, even scores. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. Bet online, where the game starts. More Locked On Hornets coming up next.
This is Locked On Hornets.
And would I have liked to see a few more shards? No, I would not have.
I saw some shards.
Only on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Doug, I looked it up too, and I don't know if you're getting the same answer I am, but I don't think the Hornets have won a Southeast Division title.
Well, they've certainly never won a Southeast Division title. I don't believe, according to this, that they've ever won a division title at all.
Right.
They've come up second a few times. I can read those off. So when they won 50 games for the first time back in 94, 95, shout out Alan Bristow, they finished second of 7 in their division. Again, there were more teams in the division at that time. And it's going to take me too long to get the actual division. Who won it? I mean, I assume Chicago.
Well, remember, we just did this box score where we were looking at the team where we had a whole lot of high hopes for Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning coming back, no Michael Jordan. And we thought, hey, maybe this is a team that could potentially go to a conference championship. Injuries derailed them. But looking at the top of the standings, it was the Atlanta Hawks, who had, I think, 57 wins that year, something close, Mookie Blaylock, Steve Smith. So even the Hawks a couple of times, who also had gone a long instance without getting to the conference championship, even the Hawks were up there competing.
Yeah,
for
so they win
titles.
They win 51 games, which is the most they've ever won in 97-98. In the 97-98 season, they won 51 games. The problem was the Indiana Pacers won 58 and the Bulls won 62. So the most they've ever won, and they finished third in their division. I mean, it's just been some kind of rotten luck. They finished in 01-02. They finished second in their division. Okay, they come back as the Bobcats. Now there are only 5 teams in a division, so you'd think it'd be easier. But even when they went to the playoffs those few times as members of the Bobcats, they finished no better than third. The last time they finished second in the division was in 2018-2019, aka the first year for James Borrego. They missed the playoffs, but they finished second in the Southeast. That's how miserable the Southeast Division was.
Yeah, that
Weird.
There are a couple of years where the Heat will have to go through not Miami Heat years, if that makes sense, where they remember when they had the transition from Dwayne Wade and Shaq to eventually getting LeBron in 2010, and then you had the years where the Heat were like barely missing the playoffs or sneaking in at the 8th spot, but then eventually they'd get Jimmy Butler and start to climb the standings again. So not the Hornets, though. The Hornets aren't doing that unless, Doug, possibly they could find a way to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And this thing got some life. This rumor got some life over the weekend or maybe just a couple of days ago. Shams Charania put out there in a tweet or a write-up that, yes, the Knicks and the Jazz have re-engaged in trade talks, but the Wizards and the Hornets have already been doing that. Those are 2 franchises that have been in talks for a while, trying to land Donovan Mitchell. But this goes back to a theory you've had all along, Doug. The more you hear about the Charlotte Hornets, the more unlikely you think there's a chance that Donovan ends up here in Queen City.
No, this is it's the Knicks or no one, I think, at this point. The Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets, both in the Southeast Division, by the way, are those 2 unlucky souls who are being used to make the New York Knicks jealous and to get the New York Knicks to hand over even more picks. I believe the New York Knicks can offer 7 total first-round picks. Now, I don't know if that's what it's going to take, but they've got 3 picks via other teams, and they've got 4 of their own picks that they can offer. I think the max that the Hornets could offer at this point are 4 picks, the one that they have from via Denver that they got from this past draft trade that they did, and then 3 of their own that they could part with. So the Knicks have, and I think the Wizards say they're in kind of the same boat. They can offer 4 of their own picks and then, a couple of young players. But I just think like of the Wizards, Knicks, and Hornets, the Knicks can offer significantly more draft compensation. They've probably got some better young players too. The Hornets would have to part with P.J. Washington. They probably have to part with Kai Jones, James Bouknight. They're not going to part with Mark Williams, I don't think, but they'd have to offer up as sacrifice 2 of their young prospects as well. I mean, it would take a ton, and I don't even know that it's interesting to talk about it because I think the Knicks are that far in the driver's seat.
The Knicks just have to the Jazz have to be hell-bent on getting R.J. Barrett, and the Knicks have to be hell-bent on not sending him out because he's got to be the most valuable asset among any asset that's grown legs to this point. First-round picks are always going to be extremely valuable, But RJ Barrett, plus he's even polarizing. I'm not saying this is some definitive statement on RJ, but including the Hornets prospects, RJ Barrett has to be the most valuable, right, of all the young players outside of LaMelo, who's not getting traded. All the tradable quote unquote assets.
No, I totally agree with that. I don't think, Washington can offer up Rui Hachimura, but I don't think they've got any. Yeah, I don't think they've got any prospects that really match up there. But they've got the four of their own first rounders that they can deal, because that Denver first rounder is like a nothing first rounder. It's not really going to mean anything to Utah because it's going to be low.
You have to make it a stretch, but that's fine. We're in the off season, so I'm going to go ahead and stretch this. This will be my strong man question. It would be interesting to go back in time and see, maybe go into the future and then talk about how much that Kai Jones trade affected their ability for an in-season trade to possibly land Donovan. It might make it more imperative that Kai Jones needs to work out, because remember, they traded up with the New York Knicks in the first round to go land Kai Jones at 19, which was great, and you didn't have to get rid of a whole lot, and it was heavily protected. A lot of people were happy about that, and sure, I get that side of things. One thing I did want to mention at the time, too, was that you could not use that first-round pick anymore during an in-season trade because you didn't control it. That belonged to New York. Eventually, that went to Atlanta in a Cam Reddish deal, but Charlotte couldn't trade that, which means now I believe that is the reason that they're only allowed to offer 3 first-round picks to this point. And so if Kai Jones doesn't work out, then you will have given up some ammo to actually help New York in some way. Now they got rid of it, but to help New York some way, land Donovan Mitchell if Charlotte truly wanted to go after another star to put alongside LaMelo. Just an interesting little trail to watch.
Yeah, and if Jalen Duren works out and Kai Jones doesn't, then Mitch Kupchak will at that point lose all of the draft capital that I've afforded him for making a few good calls here and there.
Mark Williams has to save the day on that one, and even then, it's not getting completely the bad taste out of your mouth. Mark Williams has to be good.
No, well, but I always thought you could play Jalen Duren and Mark Williams together at some point if they both worked out. I didn't think that was impossible, so I wouldn't.
Or just use it on, what other prospect you liked, Brandon.
Instead of giving it away, which is essentially what the Hornets did. They gave away the 13th pick and got a worse pick. It's not great.
Which has always been the problem. All right, any more shouts to end us here today on this live streaming Wednesday?
David mentioning that I got a beard in 1 week. I told you, I shave it off.
I thought about that yesterday.
I grow it back quick, man.
I don't even recognize it. I the other day I was like, yeah, there is something unusual about Doug today, but I wasn't able to pinpoint it. You did grow a beard very quickly. Is your baby happy, Doug, that you grew a beard?
Well, she's 10 months old now. She's happy all the time. She's crazy.
Okay,
she's
great.
Full of energy, full of life.
Baby Ricky.
Making me not go to sleep. So she's great. She's happy. I am exhausted.
You're not so happy.
Let's see. Shout outs. Let's see. Scrolling. A lot of people in here sharing some thoughts on how to get around some of these blackout issues.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. Hey, look, if you're a computer wizard, go for it. I have a baby. I don't have time to figure out VPNs, VNP.
Yes.
I don't know.
I like being a conduit for the black market. I really enjoy that.
Niermeyer says, hi, LaMelo Ball is my favorite person. Right now, he's our favorite person because
I like
the hopes and dreams of the Charlotte Hornets rest solely on his shoulders.
I like you don't hear favorite person all that much referring to an NBA player, but I like that. Not favorite player, but favorite person. Anything else, Doug, or should we end it there?
I can give you a little strength of schedule information if you're interested in that. This comes to us
SOS, please help me. Let's do it.
PositiveResidual.com tracks strength of schedule. They factor in travel. They factor in, obviously, the strength of the opponent versus last year. And that's a kind of an interesting point, though, because we have a couple of big moves, including the one we just talked about. Donovan Mitchell may move teams. We've got Kevin Durant might move teams. Kyrie Irving might move teams. So they finally they released the schedule. We don't know where all of these teams are going to land. It could change. The landscape of the national TV games might get worse or better, and the strength of schedule might be interesting, the changes. But for right now, knowing what we know, the Hornets have are 19th in terms of the easiest schedule. So a little tougher than average when you factor in the rest advantages and the teams that they play.
Yeah, let's end by informing you about LeBron James, too. Just some news coming in today. LeBron James did sign a 2-year extension with the LA Lakers. There is a player option after that first year, so possibly, or there is a player option in between that extension that still allows him to bail if he wants to go play with his son, Bronny, which has been something very interesting. We're all kind of watching in the
Mitch
future.
Kupchak,
Yeah,
you know what
right.
to do.
Everybody,
you know what to do, Mitchie. Go get Bronny, Mitchie and Bronny.
LeBron James making over $97 million because of that 2-year extension, and that does make him the NBA's highest earning player as it comes to NBA contracts, and he takes down Kevin Durant with that. So Kevin was was the record holder there. LeBron James took that over with his contract extension.
By the way, I did look it up. I don't know what Memphis had in terms of national TV games, because you mentioned this earlier. Ja Morant, how much has he lifted Memphis into national game territory? So I don't know what he had last season, but I'll tell you first of all, they're playing on Christmas Day.
Yeah,
the Charlotte
and it's
Hornets.
different now because they're good, and they actually have a playoff series where they were competitive against Golden State. So it is different, but yes.
Okay,
totally.
but Memphis is good. Even though they played well without Ja Morant, I understand that. I get the record. I get it. I get all of that. But they're good because they have Ja Morant. Like they are playoff competitive.
We can get
because
the
they
spirit
have
of this. Yeah.
Ja Morant. And so the Memphis is good because Ja Morant is not only good, like he's MVP caliber good. Mm-hmm. And now Memphis is looking at 28 national TV games. So if you want the Hornets on national TV, LaMelo Ball has to
laughable.
Get into MVP territory. I mean, that's all it takes.
Yeah, we had 9 last year, and that was the most we've had.
We had 8 last year. We had 8.
Ones.
Well, we had 4 real ones, 4 fake ones for a total of 8. We reduced that down to 7. We get 3 real ones and 4 fake ones this season. David Walker always disagrees with me on that, by the way. He always says that NBA TV games are real national TV games, and I always say, where is Mike Breen?
Yeah.
Bring me Breen!
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I want to hear the bang, and if I don't, then it's not a national TV game. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. We appreciate you joining us, making us your first listen. Remember to make your second listen Locked On NBA. You can catch it anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube, too. They're also on YouTube, so go check them out again. Locked On NBA, 30-minute daily update, everything taking place within the association. We'll talk more schedule tomorrow. We have a few things to, I think, discuss, maybe go back into history again tomorrow, but just stick with us. Follow us on Locked On Hornets anywhere you get pods, and you'll find out. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey, real quick, Walker. Bronze Ben Simmons asked, do you guys think the season will have a better record than last season? Yes, no. What do you think? What do you think?
Sounds like a tease for tomorrow is what it sounds like.